Hey, what's up, guys? It's your favorite bald high school science teacher. It's the OG to the Danville High School Warriors, Mr. Melly. How we doing? Again today, in case you don't know who I am, you haven't seen me around by now. Again, I'm the guy right next door to your guys' current classroom. So again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns this week, I'm here to help you guys out as much as I can until your brand new teacher arrives when we get back from fall break. Again, you guys are gonna love your teacher. Again, he's a really good guy. But again, I'm here for you in the meantime. But today, throughout the rest of the week, we're going to be exploring one of the most important processes for life on Earth, photosynthesis. So this process, it's not only for it not only feeds plants, but indirectly feeds us too. It's in every bite of food and every breath of oxygen. It all begins with this process. So we're going to dive in by looking at how cells actually store and release this energy. So inside every living cell, energy isn't just floating around; it's stored in a chemical compounds. Now, the main compound cells use to store and release energy is called ATP, otherwise known as adenosine triphosphate. Again, it's adenosine triphosphate. Now, when a cell needs energy, ATP is like a charged up battery ready to go. And whenever it's used up, what we have left is ADP. Again, this adenosine diphosphate. So if we were to break those words down, again, di means two, tri means many. Tri means three. So again, we're having three phosphate groups. We're having two phosphate groups there. So, and when this energy is used up, again, we have ADP left. It's pretty on par with like what an uncharged battery would look like. So basically, again, ATP is the ready to run version that all of our cells need, whereas again, ADP is the please plug me in version. We need it to charge up. Now, the general structure of ADP is made up of three parts. It's made up of an adenine base. It's made up of a ribose sugar. So again, your adenine base, your ribose sugar, and a chain of three phosphate groups. Again, recall back what I said about ATP. Again, it stands for adenosine triphosphate. So again, it has three phosphate groups. One of these circles is one phosphate. There's two, and then there's three. So again, those phosphate groups are just like the key. They're where the energy is being stored and where it's being released as we're going through this whole process. So again, we have our adenine group, our ribose, 5-carbon sugar, and then we have our three phosphate groups. So when you think of ATP, think of three phosphates and a whole lot of potential energy that's packed inside of it. And again, if you don't recall what potential energy is, that is just a fancy way of stating stored energy. It's a charged up battery ready for use. Now, how ADP becomes ATP. Now, ADP looks almost identical to ATP, except it only has two phosphate groups instead of the three. So when a cell has all this extra energy, it can store that energy by adding in that third phosphate group to ADP. And just like that, boom, it becomes ATP. Isn't that funny how that works? So again, that's how energy is stored. It's, again, just like recharging the battery. Again, we have ATP, again, our three phosphates, and then we have ADP. Again, all that energy is used. It's energy poor. Now, when a cell needs all needs energy. It simply removes that third phosphate group from ATP. That bond breaks, energy is being then released, and the ATP turns back into ADP. Haha. Think of your phone battery. Energy goes out when you use it, and then it recharges when it's plugged back in. The big difference here, again, is that your cells do this millions of times per second. Think about that for a hot second. So again, ATP is a super, super important powerhouse energy currency for all of our cells. If we don't have ATP, again, we wouldn't be able to move, our heart wouldn't be able to beat, we wouldn't be able to breathe, we wouldn't be able to do we would be able to do so little without this ATP. Again, I want you to constantly think about that as we're going through this whole process of photosynthesis, and then when we get back, when we talk more about cell respiration. So again, we are releasing all of this energy. We're releasing all of this energy. Now, with ATP, again, it has enough energy stored energy to power pretty much everything a cell does. So again, whether it's photosynthesis, whether it's building up proteins, whether it's contracting muscles, whether we're going through active transport, going from a low concentration to a high concentration, we're using all this energy. So again, that's why ATP is often called this basic energy source of all living cells, because again, it's constantly being used, it's constantly being regenerated, even in one muscle cell. Again, where muscle contraction, again, where we're getting all nice, big, buff, and strong to show off to everybody around us. It takes about 10 million ATP molecules, and those are recycled every second. So that's some serious firepower there that we're turning over every single time. And again, we're going through a whole variety of different processes as we go through this. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and this is probably the most important thing that I can emphasize as we are diving through this whole process of ATP and how it's releasing energy and how it's absorbing energy and how we're building it back up and we're breaking it back down. Think about this. Is it ever actually destroyed? Are we actually ever? Does it ever actually go away? Pause and think about that for a second. The correct answer is no. Again, it does not actually go away. Again, energy is never created or destroyed. It is only converted into one form or the next. So again, whether it's converted into ATP, where it's stored energy, or whether it's converted into ADP and that phosphate group where it is released energy. So again, energy is never created nor destroyed. It is always conserved from one form to the next. Now, tomorrow, we are going to start diving into the difference between autotrophs and heterotrophs. Whenever you're eating that cheeseburger at lunch or whenever you see the plants outside, I want you guys to think about that kind of thing. So again, we're going to dive into autotrophs and heterotrophs, and we're going to take a quick overview at photosynthesis, the inputs and outputs, and then how different wavelengths of light kind of play a role into all this. But again, if y'all got any questions, the bald man next door has got your back, Mr. Melling. So come on over if you need any help. Otherwise, have a great day.